Alright boys, welcome back to Cone Racing League for Tier 3, Round 7 of the Baku Grand Prix. My name is Jamie Morris, or Indigo, whatever you prefer to call me, and we are here once again then for the streets of Baku here in Azerbaijan. And we're in this qualifying session, 18 minutes in this qualifying session, and the first driver we go on board with is our last week's podium sitter who finished in P2, which was Craigo, who benefited from all the chaos. And talking about chaos, we might see some more chaos here in the streets of this fast circuit. I wonder how it's all going to pan out then in the next few minutes and the next race ahead of us. But let's see what happens then, and welcome Enos in the chat, nice to see you here. And we're going to go on board with Craigo then as he makes his way headed down into turn number 1, 340 kilometers an hour, equivalent to like 213. Heavy braking zone, hits the inside curve. You don't want to brake too late into turn 1 or even late, because that outside barrier is sticking out then. Has caught me out, probably caught a lot of drivers out, so you can be very careful, especially in qualifying here on your fast laps. It's so easy to misjudge that braking zone and hit that outside wall. And coming into turn number 3 then, hitting the 100-meter board, downshifting through the gears, into second he goes, and decent on the power there coming out of turn 3. Now going into turn number 4, another slow speed corner, going to make your way around off, and coming into turn number 5 and turn number 6. Hopefully I got these corners right, because I haven't done my research before the race. I've got the track map in front of me here, but he takes those slow speed corners very nicely then, setting himself up on this short straight, heading into the next few corners here. You don't want to take too much of this inside curve because he can invalidate, but that's just perfect enough there for Craigo then as he makes his way into the castle section. He was hesitant going into here on his outlap, but his Aston Martin teammate has made a mistake somewhere, and the Polish man is out of qualifying. But his Aston Martin teammate we saw had a yellow flag down at turn number 3, indicating that he's got off the circuit somewhere, or down at turn 3. But whatever happened to him, maybe he outbraked himself, but luckily he's still in the session then, so he can continue on. But does he have front wing damage, dragging on speed? Let's hope not. 17.4 in the middle sector there for Craigo then, and we'll see then coming flat out all the way from exit of turn 16, heading into the last last corner here. This is the last corner, but it's flat out, so you don't really class this as a corner. But DRS then enabled to assist the drivers down the straight with extra speed. And let's see what his first flying lap time is from Craigo. It's a 41.9. And let's see then if anybody can beat that. We've got Ferguson now with the DRS wide open, with a few cars right behind him. I think one's on his outlap or backed off because he hasn't got his DRS open. Yes, he has now. He goes P2, does Ferguson, and Reeves goes into P1 there with a 40.8. That guy Draper setting a decent lap with a 41.2 on the medium compound tyres. The little one into P3 with a 41.3 then. So these times, yet again, being very so close. And little one, that guy Draper there standing out on those medium compound tyres with a 41.2, but there's plenty more to go in this qualifying session as once these drivers get up to speed and get used to the track. We're on board with our last week's race winner, Ross, who avoided all the chaos there, and there's plenty of safety cars in the Dutch Grand Prix, which might have helped him as well in his strategy. And obviously the pendulum swung around quite a lot in that race, benefiting other people at different times, especially when the safety car came out like 4 or 5 times. And Van Dango then goes P1 with a 40.7. Didn't have the best of races back at the Dutch Grand Prix. I think he still scored points though, because he was one of the remaining survivors in that race, and claimed some points despite struggling a little bit. But he's P1 at the moment. What about Ross? What's he got to say about that? A 41.5 then, so not the lap time he would have searched for, but obviously there's more time to improve. Jagnon's speed then in P13 looks like he's continuing then, despite going off at turn number 3, so he must have taken the escape mode, but that was tantalisingly close. Into the castle section he went there, with his tyre possibly scraping the barrier, but luckily for him he just managed to get away with that one, and he could still continue his way then. Heart to mouth moment there for the German driver, but nevertheless he still continues coming down into this tricky braking zone here with we've seen a lot of drivers. There's a bit of carbon fibre on the outside of it, so someone must have hit the barriers there. It's the 17.7 then for Dragoner's speed in that middle sector there, and there's an Alfa Romeo who's racing his teammate. Looks like they're giving a big slipstream, but it might be a bit too close for comfort, his teammate, because it's right behind him. So it's Harry Palmer there on his flying lap, and little one helping to give him a big boost on the straight. Looks like his teammates peeled off into the pit lane. So he's dragging on speed as well, so he will not continue on that lap despite improving. So he feels that lap time wasn't good enough despite improving on his lap then. So who else is out there? We've got Nacho then in the Williams with the DRS wide open, Let's see what he does. It comes across the line now with a 41.8. Puts himself into P8 then, 3/10 away from Ross. But Ross is out there and he's 3 seconds away, so he's not improving on that lap time then. So we'll see who else is about to cross the line next. We've got the mighty Baguette, but looks like he's backed off and he's running out of fuel for good measure too, so he will not be completed on that. We've got KXI then, the man who finished in P3 despite having a very difficult race with a lot of defending to do in that race, and he was one of the drivers that kept out of a lot of chaos but was involved in it too, but luckily for him he managed to escape unscathed. There's a lot of chaos behind and in front of him as well, especially that massive crash there with the Mercedes and the Ferrari last time out. Hopefully that don't happen again. But KXI then, who is currently P8 in the championship, tied with Jay Hartnell, and Jay Hartnell there is not in the session then, so he won't improve on his position. And looks like MK, oh god, I'm already struggling with the name, and he's P5. But KXI then, we're about to see what flying lap he does, and let's see then as he crosses the line to start his first flying lap then. There's a few drivers haven't set their lap times, which is Veloci A-Up and Dragon of Speed, not representative for him, but he is on his out lap, importantly for him then, as 10 minutes left to go. So that 8 minutes of qualifying went very quick, and we're about to see what he does then, coming into turn number 2 then. Decent exit from KXI then, with the DRS wide open for the second straight then, as he heads all the way down into turn number 3 there. Let's see what he does. Heavy braking zone, downshift to do the gear, sits to the apex, very nice there, kissing it, not touching it, but you want to kiss it there. Going into turn number 4 now, let's see what he does again. Swings the car very nicely, no loss of traction through there. Going through the slow speed corners, the 35.9 in the first sector, getting very close to the curb, up into 4th gear, swing it around for the next corner. Decent exit there from him as we go into the slow speed corners then. Let's see what he does. Brake before the 50-meter board. And he goes a little bit deeper than he would have wanted, does KX. I didn't really slow the car down as much as he wanted. Now going through the castle section, that was mighty close there from the AlphaTauri driver then, as he makes his way around the castle section very nicely, it must be said. A-Up has got up into P3 with a 40.9 then, and he's a few hundreds away from Hargreaves, who's on his out lap for his second flying lap then, as Fandango currently leads the way then. Much better qualifying session for him, as he was struggling in qualifying last time out at the Dutch Grand Prix. A 17.5 in the middle sector. Dragon on Speed did a 17.7 in the middle sector, but we didn't see his complete his lap, as he's currently out there trying to set his best lap time. I think that Alfa Romeo has had a problem coming out. Oh, talk about Alfa Romeo. He has had a problem, and that's got himself a 5-place grid penalty. Is that at the castle section to make contact there, I wonder? As KXI is about to cross the line with a 41.6 then, so he'll be hoping to improve that. But what's happened there to one of the Alfa Romeos, the little one? That little one has got front wing damage, and he's on his out lap too. And that's a Ferrari ahead of him. Is that... we'll see who the Ferrari is then. Or is that his teammate? No, it's Mighty Baguette. Mighty Baguette looks like he was on his lap time, because it doesn't say out lap, so he might have gone away there. I'm not quite sure, because as you can see from the lap time, it's 2 minutes and 17 seconds, but that might be a glitch. But we're about to see him cross the line then. What can he do? It's a 42.442. I think he's going for his flying lap. That might be a little bit glitched there, but however, those two have made contact, and the little one there, unfortunately, sustaining front wing damage, and looks like he's put himself, well, out of rhythm now to start his second flying lap. So that put him massively on the back foot there, especially with a 5-place grid penalty too. Hargreaves has gone 2/10 quicker in the middle sector there. You can see the back end of the car just twitching a bit as the AlphaTauri there is entering the castle section. Hopefully it doesn't distract him a lot, otherwise might affect his lap time. But hopefully the AlphaTauri does get out of the way. That's not KXI. That might be, you never know. Let's have a look. Yeah, it is KXI, but obviously he's quite low on battery. Both AlphaTauri's done a good job. A shout out to Draper as well on the medium compound tyres, setting that lap time with a 41.2 then. So once he switches over to the soft compound tyres, which I think he has done now, yes he has, as the AlphaTauri gets out of the way of the Mercedes at the very last minute then. So we're going to go back on board with Hargreaves to see what lap time he can set. Magic Killer Pigeon says we Scott, and Hargreaves then makes his way towards the line now. So let's see what lap time he can set in the Mercedes. Is it going to be an improvement for him? We're about to see. It's going to be a 40.2, and he smashes it by 5/10 then. So 6/10 overall on his best lap time, and he's currently put a massive distance between himself and Fandango, who is currently improving 1/10 in the first sector. So good signs there from the McLaren driver. So let's see then as we continue with this progress, coming into these slow speed corners. Hello Scott, how you doing mate? Hope you're doing alright. And let's see then, as Fandango makes his way out the slow speed corners then, how he approaches this castle section. A lot of drivers do hesitate through there. Full commitment and full speed going through there. Very difficult. But 6 minutes and 20 seconds left to go on the clock. No head bump here, unfortunately, for tonight, so I'm a lone commentator. But we'll see how we manage then. And for those who's joining who's not heard, I am ill, so apologies if I make any mistakes during this stream. Hopefully I'll be better one day, because I've been ill quite a lot. And it's a 60.0, that's a decent middle sector, and he's 4 tenths up is Fandango in that middle sector. Craigo has gone P4 in the Aston Martin. Gautier Lefellan in P5. He's a Haas on the straight, I think. Jay Hartnell, well, apologies, I did say Jay Hartnell wasn't here, but I didn't see his car. He is in P4, is Jay Hartnell with a 41.0 there. But I want to see Fandango, where can he improve? Is he going to improve? Can he? I think he will, but can it be P1? Can it smash back pole? Oh, that was so close. 40.3 there for Fandango. And let's see how much time he's got left in the session. He parks his car on the apex. I think he might have to carry some speed to try and go offline before turn number 2, because that did affect whoever was coming through. And that was an AlphaTauri, I think. It's not KXI, it's that guy Draper then. So that guy Draper did get compromised into turn number 1 just a little bit there. Hopefully hasn't affected him too much. 5 minutes and 10 seconds left to go on the clock there. As you can see, my voice is already going, so I'll try my best. And I think he's backed out. Yes, he has then. So Fandango might have thought to save the tyres, as he already got compromised into turn number 1 there. So unfortunate there from the AlphaTauri. Ferguson coming out of the castle section, but my main competitors very close to each other, and Veloci A up then coming through turn number 3. Is he in a lap time? I'm not quite sure, but we'll stick on board with him to see what he does in that Ferrari then, as he makes his way down into the heavy braking zone into turn number 3, just braking before the 50-metre border. Fandango has retired. He has crashed, and he's just completed his lap as well. And I dare say, I don't think he was doing another push lap, was he? He couldn't have been, because I'm not quite sure if he was running out of fuel. But Fandango has crashed, and Ayob has gone 2 tenths quicker in the first sector. And Fandango has ruined his chances for pole position and further improvement. Nacho has put himself into P3. Finally, a good lap time there from the Dutchman. But we're about to see the crash then from the McLaren driver. Hopefully gets out of the way. Oh! Obviously he was ghosted, but Veloci A-up probably thought that McLaren wasn't ghosted, and unfortunately has ruined his lap time as well. So he has to back out of that one. Will he still keep going though? He was 2 tenths up in the first sector. How much time has he lost due to that, I wonder? Probably a little bit scared going into the castle section. I think he might have backed off. He is short shifting. I'm not quite sure. See his middle sector. Yeah, 1.9 seconds off, so it's clear backed off, and that's a shame there. Can he get back in the pit lane? Has he got a brand new set of softs in his disposal to try and get himself back out there and set his final flying lap? Or has he got enough time to do so? I'm not quite sure. Majority of the drivers are in the pit lane, and Ross in the Alpine, and last week's race winner. Let's see what he's up to as he's coming out of turn number 3, I think, turn number 2, heading into turn number 3. And now let's see what he does coming into here. Very nice entry into turn 3, kissing the apex. You want to do, get on the throttle, coming into turn number 4, downshifting into second gear, get back on the throttle immediately, then straight onto the car. And his first sector, let's have a look, 5 tenths down, so I don't think he's on a lap time. Is the Alpine driver probably go for a push lap or something like that. Nacho in the middle sector there, not, I think he's spun. And that was on his out lap too, in lap, sorry. So Nacho there having a little bit of a spin coming out of turn 16. Plenty of drivers have done that in the past as well. Won't be the first or last one. Gautier Lefellan then in P7. What can he do then on his final potential flying lap? And Veloci A-up has got into the pit lane then, so I wonder, has he got a brand new set of softs in his strategy? But I'm not quite sure though. But that did definitely have a big compromise in his qualifying programme. And I wonder, can he try and get himself out there for his last flying laps? Our pole sitter is going for his out lap, but I want to see who's closest to line. I think it's Gautier Lefellan who's closest to start his final potential flying lap then. There's 2 minutes and 15 seconds left to go to close qualifying. In his final moments of qualifying then, the pressure is ramping up for these drivers. Mistakes are bound to be made, but which driver can keep a level head and try and snatch back pole position? Gautier Lefellan across the line to start his final flying lap, heading into turn number 1 then. Want to avoid the outside wall because it can catch a lot of people out. Going into turn number 2 then. A 90-degree corner, hits the apex very nicely there. Getting on the throttle, DRS enabled then for the second straight. Plenty of opportunities to overtake into this particular part of the track. Going into turn number 3 then, braking at the 100-metre board. And see how he takes it very nicely there, carrying the speed then, minimum speed going into turn 4, breaking at the 50-meter board. Once again, carrying some decent speed, no hesitation on the input of the steering wheel whatsoever there. Very nice and smooth, carrying the lines. And 3/10 up in the first sector is Gautier Lefebvre, so that's a big improvement. But I dare say he went a little bit wide going out of that slow speed right-hander, going into the next few corners. Then let's see how he takes it. Understeer. Oh, massive wheel spin there for Gautier Lefebvre. Wouldn't have done him any favours whatsoever. Heated up the rear tyres like that and lost the speed, lost a bit of time as well. For good measure, coming through the castle section at all in 4th gear. Nacho has retired, and that's in the pit lane then, so he will not participate no longer in qualifying. Leon in P17 has retired too, probably in the pit lane as well. I didn't see him on the track as he makes his way then coming into the tricky part of this track up into turn 16 here. Let's see what he does in this middle sector. Is it going to be an improvement? 3/10 still, so how much time would he have gained if he didn't make that massive, well, slight mistake coming out of that corner there before the castle section? I need to know the corner numbers because I haven't done any research. I think it was turn 7 heading into turn 8. Yes, it was. Turn 16 is that difficult corner where Pierre Gasly and Brendan Hartley had their moments. Gautier Lefebvre then crossed the line. Is it going to be? No, it's not. 40.8 for him, but he does put his car on the second row of the grid then, so let's see if anybody can dethrone the Mercedes of Hargreaves there for pole position, who is improving by a few hundreds as the McLaren driver goes up into P6 by 3/10 as well. So that's a good lap time from him. And we'll see the Mercedes, and the other Mercedes, like Chris, goes up into P5 there and did set a decent middle last sector as well. And the little one has put his car on pole position there with a 40.1. I wonder, can any of these boys get themselves into the 39s there? Be a big ask, but has anybody got the pace to do so? And KXI improving by 7/10, a massive boost he needs because it could put him into the top 10 if he continues like this then. As the AlphaTauri makes his way towards the line, what's it going to be for KXI? Puts himself into P7 then, and his teammate is next to cross the line. And let's see where he goes. Like Guy Draper, who put himself into the top 10 early in this session, but he's currently dropped out of it. But can he get himself back in there along with his teammate? Is he crossed the line now? Yes, he can. P5 for him, but the man I want to see is Hargreaves. Oh, he's 5/10 down. So he must have made a mistake somewhere. Like I said, the pressure ramping up, and Gautier Lefebvre then not improving on his last flying lap, unfortunately for him. Veloci Ayo, what's he doing? 5/10 up in his middle sector, keep an eye on him. Where can he put his Ferrari there? Can he get himself inside the top 3? Let's see, we're about to find out. As we've got a few more drivers yet to cross the line. Jay Hartnell, Ferguson, P13, P15, big improvement for them to get themselves further up the grid. But Veloci Ayo's making his way towards the line now, and it's P4. What a good lap time there from the Ferrari driver. Jay Hartnell puts his Red Bull into P5. Where's his teammate going to be? Ferguson, did I just see him diff up into the pit lane? Yes, he did. So we won't see an improvement for him, but the mighty Baguette in P17 also heads off into the pit lane. Harry Palmer not having the best of qualifyings, and that's it for him, I'm afraid, because he's definitely not improving from there. So Little One then takes pole position away from Hargreaves in P2 there. What could it have been if he didn't make that mistake somewhere on the track? Fandango, much better qualifying for him. The boost he needs after a horrific race on qualifying for him at Zandvoort. And that'll be a big boost for him then heading into this race. Veloci A up into P4 with Jay Hartnell in P5. Nacho in P6 ahead of that guy Draper. Gautier Lefebvre in P8. Christoph in P9. KXI in P10. And I think it was that massive crash we saw at the Dutch Grand Prix. It was Christoph, and it was a Ferrari driver involved. I couldn't quite remember which one it was. In fact, I can find out judging by the results. It was Harvey. Yeah, it was MUFC Harvey who had a massive crash with the Mercedes. That put him well out of contention, but looks he had a decent qualifying as Chris. KXI ran off the top 10 then with Mazzles in P11, Gregor in P12, MKP in P13, Dragon on Speed in P14, Ferguson P15, Ross, our last week's race winner, unfortunately down in P16. The mighty Baguette P17 ahead of Leon in P19, Harry Palmer in P19, but a 5-place grid penalty, so start last place. I think another driver got a 5-place grid penalty, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, it's the Little One. The Little One will not take pole position. He will start down in P6, and Hargreaves then will start into P1. And that unfortunate moment, not quite sure who was at fault there, what happened in that scenario, but whatever that was, he's going to make it up in the race. Has the Little One showed he's got the pace in qualifying, but now got a lot to work to do. Remember Sergio Perez back in 2016 when he crashed into the wall at FP3, had a gearbox change, had a 5-place grip on C, came home to finish in P2. And I think candidates to one repeat the same thing, but try and do one better to get into P1. First race of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix was in 2016, introduced with the lower downforce cars. We saw lots of top speeds there, especially with the DRS open and multiple overtakes as well. But with these more downforce heavier cars, we won't see those top speeds again. What was it? Highest top speed about 375 kph from Valtteri Bottas or Sergio Perez at the Mexican Grand Prix. We won't see those speeds again. Max speed we'll see from these cars is about 355, 358, depending on what track it is, obviously. Rosberg won in 2016, I think. The following year, it was Ricciardo when Hamilton and Vettel had their little incident down at turn 16 with a safety car, and both Force Indias took themselves out too. That was a chaotic race. When Ricciardo made a move on 3 cars, was it Felipe Massa, Magnussen, and Hulkenberg as well. 2018, Lewis Hamilton won the race. I think Sebastian Vettel locked his tyres into turn number 1, trying to get past Valtteri Bottas, who went for a big stint. Then the safety car came out because both Red Bulls took themselves out, and Bottas managed to get the jump on Vettel and Hamilton, but Vettel outbroke himself, and Bottas had a puncher, and Hamilton won the race, and I think Perez ended up on the podium in P3. 2019, Bottas versus Hamilton. Bottas took pole, I think, and he went on to win the Grand Prix. Leclerc crashed in Q2 or Q3, I think it was. It was Q2 because it was on medium compound tyres, and I think it was Bottas who won ahead of Hamilton. Gasly retired with an engine problem. I think Vettel took P3 ahead of Verstappen and Leclerc, and both McLarens had a decent result. Obviously, we weren't racing in 2020 because of COVID. In 2021, Verstappen should have won the Grand Prix, but his tyre blew out, and it was Perez versus Hamilton versus turn 1, and Hamilton went straight on, and Perez won ahead of Sebastian and Pierre. Then 2022, Leclerc's reliability problems kicked in once again, leading Verstappen to finish in P1 and Perez in P2. And 2023 hasn't even started yet. Yeah, Baku has shown us some interesting races, and chances of safety car is very high around here, especially back in 2017. I was having some high expectations of this track. Caused a lot of chaos, but didn't really happen in 2016. It was a decent quiet race, but 2016, that's when the chaos started to show. But anyways, Jorge is on pole position with Fandango in P2. Fandango there, as I said earlier on, having a much better race, or qualifying it must be said, but what can he do in the race then? Got a lot to do in these 26 laps. Little One has opted for the hard medium, but will that work out? Because we can see some early safety cars in this race, probably why majority of the drivers gone for mediums, bar a few on the hards and one on the softs. I don't blame the McLaren driver on the soft compound tyres, because the early chance for a safety car can arise, and therefore he can switch over to the mediums or hards if he wants to and continue on his strategy there. But yeah, I'm not surprised any of these guys are the top on the mediums, because let's say lap 9-10, safety car comes out. Oh, there's a spinner back there, and he resets the track very quickly. That must be that guy Draper who went for a little spin there. Enjoy 26 laps of this race for Tier 3. Last week's race winner was Ross, who's in P16, but can he make up in the race? Crago finished in P2, ahead of KXI in P3. Hawk Reeves in P4, reserve driver, who's currently on pole position. Jack Gillespie finished in P5, M. Kipe in P6, ahead of Gordon Lefella. Harry Palmer scored points with Jay Hartnell, Nacho and Fandango. Only 11 finishers at the Dutch Grand Prix, but what's going to happen here in the next 26 laps at the Baku Grand Prix then, as we are all set and the grid is lining up, taking their positions then. A few there spinning in the background to get the extra bit of tyre temperature. But what will happen down into turn 1? Will it be a clean start? Might see a bit of chaos heading up to turn 1 to turn 4. None of these drivers going to willing to yield. But can Fandango try and jump Jorge's off into turn number 1? The lights are about to go. And we are underway for the the Baku Grand Prix then, as Jorge gets a decent start. Fandango then swallowed up by the Red Bull, but he still stays in second place, with the Ferrari trying to go around the outside of Veloci A up, but couldn't quite make it happen, as Jay Hartnell then into P5. He's about to overtake down the inside of Nacho, but Nato sticking it around the outside into turn number 2 then. It's going to be a drag race all the way down into turn number 3, but looks like Jay Hartnell there has backed out of it. Probably wisely too, not making any contact in the first part of the race. There's a Haas who's about to hit the wall, but he stays out of it. Luckily for him then, as he remains in P9. I think he might have lost position towards Chris there, as there's chaos further back then. But it looks like we've got a few driver swaps, with Ferguson up to P30 ahead of Ross, and Gautier Lefebvre then has been overtaken then by his Haas teammate and Mazel's there. So I wonder what happened. Was it team orders? They're both on different strategies, of course, but I would have thought the Haas behind would have pulled away from the other driver because he's on different tyre strategy, of course. You would have had the mediums ahead of the hards rather than the other way around. As we come into the castle section then, Hargreaves has this massive gap on 1.7s, leaving Fandango in the clutches of Ayoub, fighting for P2 then, so he's only left him for dust there, but anything could happen in this race then. So Dragon of Speed in last place with the soft runner of MKP in P19 there, with Crago and Ross swapping positions there, as Polish Man has retired out of this race then. And that's a massive crash. That's where Grosjean crashed back in 2018, and unfortunately has become the first man to retire in this race. And is it a full course safety car? No, it's not. It's a VSC, thankfully, on the black box there, because I can't quite see it on the top of my screen. So VSC then has calmed things down for the moment, but Fandango didn't get the best of starts. He got swallowed up a bit by the Red Bull and the Ferrari, but the Red Bull backed out of it wisely, knowing it's 3 wide. And he remains in P5, but lost 2 positions in the process to Jay Hartnell. Been a bit cautious on the first lap, but rather cautious than go crazy around here. We've got a few people pitted as we are underway then for the race once again on lap 2. No DRS will enable on the next lap then. So Jay Hartnell, can he make up this position he lost at the start of the race? Being a bit cautious, but cautious around here, not too bad. KXI, however, is right behind Gautier Lefebvre, then fights him down into P3, but he's too far back to make any sort of impression. But looks like Jay Hartnell's had a bad exit. Here comes the little one then on the hardcore power tyres, and he makes his way around the outside of Jay Hartnell. So did he make a mistake there going into turn 3, going a bit deep on the brakes there in the dirty air of Nacho? Oh, looks like he might got tight by that guy Draper, because he's right alongside him, cut out the corner then. Not the start Jay Hartnell needs or wants, but hopefully he can get himself into a rhythm very shortly. And the little one there benefiting from that mistake of Jay Hartnell, moves himself up into P5 ahead of the Red Bull driver, trying to make the most of these hard compound tyres in this stage of the race. The more he sticks with the medium runners, the better off for him later on in the race, unless a safety car comes out on lap 9 or 10 when the medium runners could switch over to the hard, and that's where Little One might suffer a little bit there, but he can make a pit stop on the mediums. But I don't think they'll go the distance. But looks like the little one then has got himself in DRS range on Nacho, as Hargreaves extends his gap once again ahead of Fandango. 2.5 seconds is the gap between himself and the McLaren driver, so he's checked out at the front so far, but he's under massive pressure from Valechi Ayoub then, as Hargreaves sets the fastest lap of the race. In fact, it's replaced by Valechi Ayoub then, who's putting big pressure on Fandango, as DRS then will be enabled. But that guy Draper versus Chris into turn number 1. Chris goes wide and has to give the place towards that guy Draper there. Luckily he didn't hit that outside wall, but that little one is right behind Nacho with the helping hand of DRS. Will he make a move early doors in this race? Will he stick back and try and get him on the next lap? He sticks behind him. He was a bit too far back to make a move on that occasion, but Mazel's putting big pressure there on the Mercedes ahead of him, who's on the medium compound tyres though. So both Haas's swap positions. I'm not quite sure if Gautier Lefebvre made a mistake there or allowed his teammate through, but however his teammate on the harder tyres is in front, which he doesn't want, because obviously he's going for a long stint. But look at Little One, gets a better exit in comparison to Nacho there. Something I wouldn't expect coming out that corner, but Little One go down the inside of Nacho, and he makes the place up into P4. He goes. What a start from the Little One there, as Nacho then, oh look at the Red Bull, almost going off there and hitting the wall, but thankfully he hasn't. But that will leave him in the clutches of that guy Draper, and he'll be under massive pressure there, so can't afford to make any of those mistakes. And yeah, might not get a second chance if he does make a mistake again. But what can the little one do from here into P4? Finally clearing Nacho. Can he get himself out of DRS range from Nacho and try and pursue Ayoub, who's pursuing Fandango for P2? If Ayoub can get past Fandango, does he have the pace to try and close in on Hargreaves there for P1? But that's all about passing Fandango if he can or not. But Dragon of Speed has passed the McLaren driver. He moves himself up into P2. Those Two didn't have the best of starts as Dragon of Speed was in last place at one point, but he's moved himself up into P16 there, ahead of the McLaren driver then. As we're on the oh, there's a McLaren driver who has lost his front wing. Or was it the McLaren driver? I'm not quite sure, but there's a fight going into turn number 1 there. Nacho gets past Jay Hartnell for P5 there. And the McLaren driver, that was MKP, who has lost his front wing. And Leon there has pitted as well. Did he make contact with the McLaren driver there with full speed, where the McLaren was going very slowly? As that guy Draper then has passed Jay Hartnell, so Jay Hartnell has dropped into P7. But MKP there really struggling at this part of the race there, hitting the inside wall. And the AlphaTauri goes a bit deep going into turn number 4, but thankfully has avoided the wall. He'll be under pressure from the Red Bull, who's trying to get past him for P6 once again, but Jay Hartnell unfortunately couldn't get past him and try to regain that place he lost a few corners ago. There's a massive moment there from MKP in P19. And Fandango has closed the gap to 1.9 then, so has Hargreaves made a mistake somewhere? Has Fandango picked up the pace? He's almost dropped Veloci A up out of his DRS range then, so Fandango looks like he's got himself into a rhythm. Can he close that gap down? As that Aston Martin of Craigo unfortunately has made it up. That's Dragon of Speed in fact who's made a mistake. As Fandango has been overtaken by Veloci A up. Has he made a mistake? I wonder. I think he has. Oh, Fandango there looks like he was closing in on Hargreaves for P1, but unfortunately has made a mistake somewhere on the track. And Veloci A up then is set free to try and close down the Mercedes driver of Hargreaves, who made a mistake somewhere else on the track. But the gap is now 2.1 seconds between the leader. Has Fandango sustained any front wing damage? Thankfully no. Doesn't look like it from my screen. And looks like he's avoided the wall, but can't afford to make any of these mistakes again. Lucky to stay in P3. I'm not quite sure where he lost it in that part of the track. Was it a little spin? Did he go a bit deep somewhere? I'm not quite sure. But however, it's cost him P2. And he's 2 seconds behind right now of A-Up. Got to make sure that little one doesn't get in his DRS range, otherwise be vulnerable towards him and exposed with no helping hand of DRS for him to try and stay ahead of the little one. But little one there is looking very interested in P4. Dragon of Speed pitting. But there's a big gap between Nacho and little one there. 1.9 seconds as Nacho is under big pressure from that guy Draper. Jay Hartnell, Chris, Mazzles, Gautier, Phantom, KXI, all on the big DRS train from P5 all the way down to P12 then. So Nacho there being the slipstream provider. And he'll be running quite low on the ERS. In fact, he's not even running low on the ERS. He's saved a substantial amount to try and stay ahead of these guys. Will he allow Draper through to try and get DRS himself, I wonder. But however, he's under massive pressure from these guys. Draper has drained a lot of his battery then. Trying to get edge towards Nacho. Got these guys right behind us. Jay Hartnell has a healthy amount of ERS in his disposal then, as he'll be looking to try and fight his way back after losing a few positions at the start of the race. Not the race he would have wanted, but can he claw his way back through the field? KXI, P11 there right behind Gautier, Lefebvre and Mazzles. They're in a big DRS train as well, so there's nothing they can do about that in that DRS train. But it's looking good for Mazzles being on the hard compound tyres, unless the safety car comes out. As you can see, the flashing light of that guy Draper. Will he be exposed? I wonder, down the straight, as KXI has got past Mazzles rather easily just before turn number 1. As Mazzles actually 1 second outside the DRS range, but it's tantalising close as Jay Hartnell there loses the back end coming out of turn number 1. The Mercedes will be looking interested in that one. More influence for him, trying to get past him into turn number 3. But Jay Hartnell then is low on DRS, and Chris right to the back of him. But with Jay Hartnell having DRS, it's going to be even difficult to get past him. As Jay Hartnell there, did he make a mistake going into the corner? But now he stays in P7. Oh, Chris has hit the back of the Red Bull, and he's been tagged from behind Mazzles. There's a big car pile up there, and unfortunately, it was a massive effect. It was a domino effect, and looks like Mazzles there. Has he sustained any full wing damage, I wonder? But however, Chris, unfortunately there. Oh, there's a Ferrari going off in the background. That's the Mighty Baguette who goes into reverse gear immediately, going off into the runoff area. And like that Draper is putting big pressure on Nacho ahead of him. Nacho has got a healthy amount of ERS though. He won't know that obviously. He thinks Draper's got a good amount of battery. But once he gets past him, we'll see that flashing light down the straight then. So he knows that that guy Draper has used a lot of his ERS to try and get past Nacho. And however, the little one has closed in on Fandango then. He is in with DRS range, a striking distance now of the McLaren driver then. So it looks like Fandango will be struggling to keep that McLaren away from him. Jay Hartnell then and Christoph unfortunately making contact down at turn number 5. Christoph breaking just deep there, getting tagged by Mazzles too, so having contact twice in one corner, and that finished him off, sent him to a full spin because he had a chance of saving it. And that guy Draper has hit the wall coming out of turn number 1 and has lost his end plate. Just understeering wide, and unfortunately there, sustaining damage. He'll not be happy with that one. It's so easy to make a mistake around this track, and I wonder did anybody else run over that debris as well. Luckily it's not simulation damage, otherwise someone will sustain a puncture from that one. But that guy Draper then unfortunately becoming another victim outside turn number 1 and lost his end plate too. He will have to make a pit stop unless he wants to continue like this, of course, but it'll be a horrible feeling as we've got a few people pitting the KXI, Mazzles and Chris, who was all involved in that little crash down at turn number 6. But if that guy Draper could stay within Nacho's DRS, it'd be helpful for him, but he will lose a lot of performance in this part of the track, in the castle section especially. Let's see how he takes it. Not too bad, but look at Nacho there. He didn't take it well, and he lost the rear end of the car, and he made contact with the AlphaTauri as well, but thankfully not into a spin. So Nacho there losing traction coming out of the castle section, the back end stepping out, which allowed Draper to sneak through. He's up into P5, but Nacho there should find it easy to get past Draper, or easier, because he's got front wing damage. But the Aston Martin, and both Aston Martins having a horrible race down to P18 and P9. Complete contrast to their race at the Dutch Grand Prix, where both of them finished in really good positions. P2 and P5 are both Aston Martins, but it's completely turned around in this race. What can they do for the back of there? They desperately need a safety car to try and save this race for them. As little one then is right to the back of Fandango then. Fandango will not be able to keep the Alfa Romeo away with the helping hand of the DRS for him. More yellow flags in that middle sector there. And it's cleared up quite quickly, so I'm not quite sure who caused it, but whoever did got back on the track very quickly indeed, as Fandango there pulling to the left hand side, trying to keep the little one behind him as much as he can. The gap is 2 seconds from Veloci and Fandango, so he hasn't lost a lot of time, because that gap has been remaining the same between Fandango and Aob. So it looks like Fandango has still got his pace, but obviously it's been very hard to close in because he's sustained a lot of pressure from the little one. So I wonder how he's going to cope with this, but looks like nobody's challenging Harhus at the moment, as MKP has set the fastest lap of the race with a 39, sorry, but I didn't quite see what the fastest lap was. I was too focused on the battle for P2. But yeah, Harhus continued extending his gap over Veloci Ayo, who can't respond whatsoever. It looked like Fandango was closing that gap down momentarily as he made a mistake coming out of the castle section, and he's just allowed the little one through. But what Fandango can do from here is try to stay within DRS range of the little one, because the little one might be able to close in on Aob, and if he does that, that'll bring Fandango right into the battle with Veloci Aob and try and reclaim that P2 back he lost early in this race after making a mistake somewhere on the track. We didn't see it on camera. As now we're approaching lap 9 out of 26. This has been a fantastic race from Hargreaves. It's not over yet because the safety car can ruin his race. As we see Mazzles there on the back of KXI, who finished in P3 in the last race, but unfortunately has a massive has turned. It's a complete contrast for him. He's down in P13, 10 places where he was in the Dutch Grand Prix. Ferguson has got past the Gautier Lefebvre for P7 then, moves himself up one position. As Mighty Baguette has retired, that could trigger a safety car. Where is that? On board with them, Kipe. I'm about to see where the crash is, and that, unfortunately, has hit the wall and lost his rear. Did he carry too much speed? Did the rears just go on him in that dirty air? And unfortunately has hit the wall and lost his wheel, but the safety car has been triggered once more. Well, for the first time in this race. Surprisingly come out earlier, because we saw a lot of safety cars in Zandvoort, but this time safety cars been triggered on lap 1, and this is where the medium runners can pit and go onto the hard compound tyres. And this is what I was saying at the start of the race, lap 9 or 10. That's when the safety car can benefit the medium runners, as they're able to switch on to the hard compound tyres and take them to the end of the race. So little one there is in a bit of trouble. What should he do in P3? Will he continue to extend on those hard compound tyres, or will he pit to go to the medium compound tyres? Obviously those mediums can't go to the end, but a safety car could come his way later on in this race to try and save his strategy. But worst case scenario there for the hard runners in this race. So all these medium runners then will presumably pit. It is a one-stop around here, hards to mediums or mediums to hards, depending on how things go in the race. And so far it's heading towards the mediums runners' favours here, as Hargreaves will definitely dive into the pit lane. As you can see the red light on the car, so he's definitely... Oh, I thought he was going to stay out there. There's DRS is enabled. That was a virtual safety car. I thought it was a full safety car. My apologies for that one. It was a virtual safety car, me thinking it was a full one. But we are racing once again then, and Fandango has unfortunately just dropped himself out of the DRS range in this race. No safety car then, as they're all able to continue at full speed once again in this race, as MKP has overtaken Mazzles for P13. Oh, Mazzles is out of the session once again. But luckily for him, his car won't do a non-stop, so he won't get disqualified like he did at the Dutch Grand Prix. My apologies, Mazzles. Hopefully you can get in the session, as Leon has lost his front wing. And I'll continue there with a broken front wing. Not much to go for him. He's able to dive off in the pit lane. Not quite sure where he lost it as well. Ross, our last week's race winner, up into P11. It was him who lost his front wing. No, it was Leon, sorry, his RP teammate who lost his front wing. And more yellow flags. That's an Aston Martin. And that, unfortunately, is the story of their race. Gone from bad to worse. Dragging the speed there. Not able to find any rhythm or momentum in that car. The Aston Martin there just not working out for him on this track. He's about to be lapped as well by the Mercedes on lap 10. It's a shame there, but props for him to stay in this race. He's tried his best, is the German driver, and everybody else out there too. Not to be, unfortunately for him, as has somebody made a mistake without a terrible one. That is Leon, who's just came out of the pit lane and changed his front wing and tyres, and just spun coming out of the pit lane as well. So those cold tyres not working out for him. Maybe got the power a bit too early, but the Mercedes there has made a mistake. Is that Chris in P15? Yes it is, it's Chris. That's before the castle section. That's Hargreaves is into the pit lane then to change onto the hard compound tyres. And let's see where he will join in this race. AlphaTauri about to make his way. He would love to get ahead of that traffic, of course, but not the case for him. He rejoined down a bit of traffic, but those guys are on the medium compound tyres too, so they'll pit very shortly as he gets himself ahead of Ferguson. Needs to warm those tyres up as quickly as he can, make sure he doesn't get overtaken by the Red Bull, so he doesn't lose too much time behind the Red Bull. He will get DRS, I think. Yes, he will, but will he try and challenge it into turn number 3, I wonder. And Hargreaves will have to pay attention to that one, make sure he doesn't get overtaken, which he doesn't do. So he rejoins to some nice clear air then, not behind any traffic. And there's Veloci Ayo then, our race leader. Let's see if he responds on this lap. But looks like Hargreaves has got this in the bag, unless he makes mistakes, of course. That quite a decent race on the Mercedes driver, which he was. Ferguson's still out behind. Obviously those hard compound tyres have to warm up as well. And Ross has crashed into turn 16. And that could change the scenario of this race. And it has changed the scenario of this race. And I wonder then, will Veloci Ayo benefit from the safety car, because obviously they're on a delta now, and that will reduce the speeds, and Hargreaves can't go flat out like he would have wanted then. So Veloci Ayo, has this worked into his hands? Will he get ahead, going into the pit stops ahead of Hargreaves there? That was unfortunate for the Mercedes driver. Benefited the Veloci driver in P1 there. Little U1 as well. Not be liking the safety car coming out at this stage of the race, but can he take those mediums towards the end, or would he be struggling massively on those mediums towards the end of the race? And into the pit lane he goes then to make his first pit stops, along with the Ferrari driver Fandango in the pit lane. That guy Draper will follow, and there is Hargreaves then, has to respect his delta. He can't go flat out like he wants to down the straight, as the Red Bull there peels off into the pit lane. But will the Ferrari driver try and get ahead? Can he get ahead then? Where is he? Comes out his box right now. In fact, Hargreaves has managed to get ahead, so it hasn't cost him too much time being on the safety car. But Little Yuan managed to jump Veloci A up then, so I wonder what happened there. Because the Little Yuan was a second or so behind the Ferrari driver, but did he brake too late, I wonder, in the pit lane? Obviously that's a factor in this game if you don't hit it right. And he's rejoined then behind the Little Yuan. Hawkeyes will feel the pressure of the Little Yuan being on the medium compound tyres, so he's got to watch out for him. But once all these drivers make a pit stop, I will take a little break from here on in to try and recover from my voice. Right boys, I'm back, and hopefully Mazzles is back too. Currently in P11 with internet connection issues, and yeah, to reiterate, I am ill once again, so using this safety car to try and take a little bit of a break and get my voice back. I'm losing it at times, but as you saw, the Nacho pitted for a brand new set of meds, and he's sustained from wind damage. Don't know, I think he hit the back of somebody on the safety car. I'm not quite sure what happened, but unfortunately, as you saw from those gain positions on losses, Ferguson's done a good job to recover, because he made a mistake in his last part of qualifying. Up into P5 then, gained 10 positions, and we'll see Nacho there losing 11 positions, so he started in P5, hasn't gone well for him whatsoever, but obviously with the safety car period has punched the field once again. What can he do from there? Let's see one then. I think those medium tyres can last towards the end. We see this the medium runners at the start of the race do about 10-11 laps, and I think this one can make it, but obviously it's going to be a big stretch, and those hard runners might be able to pass them towards the end then. So safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. Harvey's will leave the way, but he'll be under big pressure from little one because his pace seems decent, and now we switched over to the softer compound tyres, who should be much faster at the stage of the race until those tyres do start to fade away later on, and we'll see how much manage to defend from there then. So let's see then when the Mercedes driver will peel off then, presumably all the way down the straight, because you don't want to give those guys a big toe, and those guys behind I've got to watch out, because I saw an AlphaTauri get very close to the back of somebody there, and Fandango and Ferguson have switched positions. Obviously there's a safety car line, it's going to respect that, but look at that then, as the AlphaTauri has been covered off by the McLaren, and the Red Bull of Ferguson goes around the outside, and it's contact further behind. That guy Draper has lost his front wing again after hitting the outside of turn while making contact with Gaultier and LeFellin then. As you can see, they're going side by side with the Red Bull and the AlphaTauri, as they both made contact before into lap 1, and this could be a drag race all the way down into turn 2. Both using the ERS, but Jay Hardell's got better straight line speed, making his way down into turn number 3, then they're still going side by side, but Gaultier and LeFellin makes contact with Jay Hardell. The AlphaTauri goes off to the wall, and look at the McLaren go down the inside of MKP as gets a bad exit. Gaultier LeFellin then gets tagged by the Alpine, gets sent off into the wall. Plenty of drama going on here at the safety car restart there. Lots of changes and lots of position changes as well. Drivers tagging each other, trying to get a bit too optimistic there, a bit too eager to try and get past each other. And yeah, that guy Draper then sustaining. Oh, he hasn't got front wing damage. It was the other guy who got front wing damage. But he did hit the wall for sure, but it looks like he got away with it after making contact with the wall the first time round. But yeah, what a chaotic restart that was, unfortunately. But Harvey's then under massive pressure from the little U1 on those medium compound tyres, and we'll make the most of them as we make our way down the straight. Safety car, DRS will be enabled 2 laps after a safety car, and that's where we can get the rear wing open, and we'll see some more overtakes. Ferguson, however, in that drama has got himself up into P5. We're almost 3 abreast, but Fandango had him covered, but the Red Bull swooped around the outside, took advantage of that one. That was a lovely move there from Ferguson. 2.1 seconds further back is Fandango, so he lost a lot of time in that safety car restart, defending from others. Jay Hartnell is right on the back of the AlphaTauri, switching and trying to force him into a mistake there, but that's not going to happen on that occasion. But as you can see there, little one will have better traction, better grip there. Will he fancy a move down the inside, going for early doors? Hargreaves doesn't look like he's going to defend this one, as one goes down the inside of Hargreaves, makes a good move, and he puts his car up into P1 then. I thought Hargreaves would try and go left to defend from the little one, but little one then had the edge over the Mercedes driver, and will be under pressure then from the Ferrari right behind him, as a few drivers have made their pit stops. MKP is right behind Jay Hartnell, and he's on the medium compound tyres then, so where he pitted onto the mediums, looks like he's got some decent pace. He did suffer with from wind damage early in this race, and now he's up inside the top 10. And now he's got the harbours of Jay Hartnell, that guy Draper right ahead of him, and Fandango is P5 as well, capitalising on those medium compound tyres. And it looks like Hargreaves then has dropped outside the 1 second range of DRS then, so the man who was leading majority of the race then has been overtaken by the little one. And let's see then how those tyres will manage to hold out towards the end of the race. 10 laps on those medium compound tyres, doable, but those tyres will start to drop off. Will he able to keep the lead of this race? Well, I can't afford to push too hard on those medium compound tyres, going to save him later for the race. However, Veloci A-Up then is now closer towards Hargreaves. Hargreaves managed to pull away from him majority of the race, but the safety cars punched him up and wiped out the lead he had at the first part of the race. On the second part, Veloci A-Up is right behind the Mercedes driver and putting big pressure on him then. As we make our way down into turn number 2 then, Veloci A-Up will have DRS on the back on the Mercedes then. Will we see him move going into turn number 2? Will Hargreaves try to bend this? Yes, he will. And let's see if Veloci A-Up tries to go around the outside. That's quite risky being on the curb there on the outside of turn 2, but he loses it and he goes into the wall. Oh, Veloci A-Up there, eager to get on the power to try and get a better exit than the Mercedes, but unfortunately has dropped it. The man who's been on the podium throughout the whole race has now lost the car and unfortunately has hit the wall. He's lost his end plate too. Jay Hartnell's going to go around the outside of him. And I don't think A-Up has anything to respond with now, as MKP is right behind Veloci A-Up as they go side by side, going into turn number 7 here. And Veloci A-Up will just go wide, presumably with that front wing damage. That's unfortunate there for Veloci A-Up. Looks like he got him. Oh! Mercedes has spun! Where is he? That's Hargreaves who spun out the castle section. And the man who unfortunately there was leading the race in the first part has now started to struggle, and he's put himself down into P5, and Jay Hartnell is right to the back of him. Has he got any front wing damage? No, he just spun coming out of the castle section. Luckily on the right side of it too, with no front wing damage it looks like. However, Ferguson from P15 it's up into P2. The Red Bull driver are having a fantastic race so far as the Aston Martin goes off at turn 16. But what a race it's been from Ferguson then, keeping out of trouble, going on the right tyres at the right time, making up positions, and now it's up into P2 with Fandango still on the podium despite having his troubles in the race. And he's under pressure from that guy Draper, who's also appeared out of nowhere too. So lots of things happening here. He started with P7, now he's up into P4, challenging Fandango for the podium. I wonder, Hargreaves is not too far behind these two, so can he recover? He had the pace to do so before, but he's got Jay Hartnell with DRS following along with MKP right behind in P7 on those medium compound tyres. So it looks like Hargreaves there will be under pressure from those two, but can he try and claw his way back in the DRS of that guy Draper and try and still fight for the podium, as Draper is all over the back of Fandango there, putting pressure on him as we head down into turn number 7 there. But little one, what a race it's been for him. 5.2 seconds is the gap between Ferguson and himself, and look, Draper got a bad exit quit out there, scraped the wall with his front wing, but luckily got away with that one, but it might cost himself a little bit more time. He's outside the 1 second, or just outside the second range of DRS then, so, and he's just put himself under it. It is fluctuation up and down, but he needs to get himself back in that DRS range, because Hargreaves is actually closing the gap down towards himself and that guy Draper too. So Hargreaves there looks like he's found his foot and is able to try and claw his way back in the DRS, if he can of course, coming out of turn 16. And he's just outside of it, unfortunate for him, so he won't have DRS on that occasion where Draper will have, but he used a lot of his battery to try and get himself back in that DRS range of Fandango, that crucial 1 second gap between those two drivers. As we make our way on the straight, Fandango has had a much better race in comparison to the Netherlands. He has made a few mistakes in this race, but still finds himself in P3 as Chris has ended up off the track somewhere. He's in had a spin and has lost his front wing too, unfortunately for him. So back to the pits he goes. The Aston Martin's had a fantastic race here in Zandvoort, but it turns out not to be at the Dutch Grand Prix, and Veloci A-Up then has had further contact with the walls, and unfortunately there is in P10. He stayed out, by the way. He did pit for brand new front wing. I don't think it was worth it anyway, but I think he might have to, because he's sustained a lot more damage, and he goes off as well. Yeah, it's a shame there for Veloci A-Up, who looks like he was set to be on the podium, but unfortunately lost traction coming out of turn number 3. with his battle with Fandango. Fandango remains on the podium but has still got a amount of pressure on his shoulders to try and keep Draper behind and Hargreaves, who is so close to getting a DRS range. But a safety car has just appeared once more in this race then. I'm about to see the field bunched up once more. So, Little One's lead has been wiped out as in a 7.6 second gap over the Red Bull then. But it's got a lot of work to do. And this is a much better race for Little One. After retiring at the Dutch Grand Prix, he finds himself in the lead of this race. He's the leader of the championship with Ross, who is currently in P11. Won't be scoring many points. Will extend his gap if he stays in P1, of course, over Ross. Ross is 4 points behind Little One in the championship, with Crago P3 3 points behind Ross. Dragon on speed, unfortunately, not having a good race down to P17. He's a P4 in the championship. Veloci Ayob looking to boost his points tally, has ended up in the wall and lost his wing, but I think he will pit for sure to get rid of that damaged front wing. Could score a lot of points to try and overtake Dragon on speed in the championship, but unfortunately hasn't gone his way. Mazzles, who is suffering from internet connection issues, I wonder if he's back in the session. Hopefully he is. Yeah, there he is. Back into the car he goes. I think that's him. Yes, it is him. He's going to be frustrated, but at least he's back in the race there. They're trying to make something of it, and the safety car will help him get closer towards the field. MKP is up into P6 there in the McLaren, and he's gained 7 positions after starting in P13, so decent race from him. Harry Palmer, very quiet in this race. Haven't mentioned much of him. He's up into P7. Didn't really set a representative lap time in qualifying, and there he is up into P7. He did score points at the Zandvoort Grand Prix despite making mistakes, where he finished in P8 at the Dutch Grand Prix. So quietly and slowly making his way up the field. It's all about making less mistakes, of course, and no drivers picked up penalties in this race. I don't expect any drivers to, because not the track really to extend track limits. I think the place where a lot of drivers do get wrong is the exit of the castle section, going a bit wider than they would have wanted. But what's the McLaren doing? Yeah, MKP there, realising that well, I'm not quite sure what he was doing. Or was he almost hit close to hit the back of the Mercedes there, wonder, so he had to go off the track. But did he pick himself up a warning just by going straight on there? He's in a good position, is the McLaren driver, and he finished in P6 as well at the Dutch Grand Prix on the mediums. Can he get himself more positions in this race? Deluxey, however, unfortunately is not in this race. He crashed out at the Dutch Grand Prix and he's not here tonight. The man who's made his way up from Tier 4 made his debut in the Italian Grand Prix 2 races ago, finished in P3 with the Letty 1 in P2 and Veloci Ayob winning that race. And obviously round 6 is where I took over for Tier 3 for commentary. Gotta say, it's been a pleasure to commentate for Tier 3 so far. Happy to be here, happy to help if you need me. And I'm enjoying the action, even if it's by myself. It's still good racing and still good action for me to watch as well. Hopefully for the viewers as well. Little One will be definitely wanting to watch this race back after being in P1. Can he stay there though for the remaining 5 laps of this race? Will Ferguson, now being closer towards Little One, have a go on the Alfa Romeo driver? Ferguson had a fantastic recovery drive, it must be said, from P15 up into P2, and Harry Palmer as well. Ferguson will be very happy to be on the podium, but can he get himself on the for the race win? He finished in P2 at the Monaco Grand Prix, so looks like he's on course to be on the podium for the 2nd time in this race if things go to plan. Black Guy Draper remains in contention for a podium with his fight with Fandango, but Fandango will be under pressure because we saw Hargreaves have good pace here at the Baku Grand Prix. Made a mistake coming out this particular corner, but has got a chance now to try and regain it. So that guy Draper then re-attacking and defending, keeping an eye on like Hargreaves and Fandango. as we're waiting for Mazzles to try and catch up, as the Aston Martin has been lapped. Gotta mention dragging on speed, however, because most people like myself would have left by now. I would definitely have left by now, but dragging on speed is still out there continuing, so you got to give props for him not giving up and retiring. Obviously there's been 2 safety cars, and obviously he can't unlap himself. That's a shame where you can't unlap yourself in this game, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, he's on the soft compound tyres, and massive respect to Dragon on Speed, a lovely guy in the community to talk to, and good friend as well. It's just a shame he can't unlap himself. Where is he in the championship? He's currently P4 in the championship with 90 points, 5 points behind Craigo. Craigo's in P13 at the moment, only 2 places away, but obviously he's got he's been lapped. Dragon Speed finished in P2 at the French Grand Prix. Mazzles finished in P3. Obviously I haven't been here all the season, and I've got a lot of catching up to do, but Mazzles there, 2 consecutive podium finishes, it looks like, for him at the Monaco Grand Prix. He won the Monaco Grand Prix, did the Danish driver. They've finished P3 at the French Grand Prix, but Little One is currently leading the championship. Lost a whole of points at the Dutch Grand Prix after retiring, but he can extend his gap on Ross, who's currently in P10. Looking good so far for the Little One. Can he hold on for the remaining laps of this race? Those tyres shouldn't be too bad, but you never know what Ferguson can do in P2. He knows there's a chance of winning this race now after seeing that safety car come out and wiping out Little One's lead. Ross has been on the podium 3 times this season. P3s at the Chinese Grand Prix and the Brazilian Grand Prix. Then he finally won the Dutch Grand Prix after switching over to the medium compound tyre, attacking those hard runners towards the end of the race and pulled away from there. KXI had to defend from his teammate Hargreaves. Looks like it's a complete cop. It's funny how what a week mates, because KXI was faster than Hargreaves last race, and now he's quicker than him. Well, it's a different team. I thought Hargreaves is a reserve driver, and he was in the AlphaTauri last week, whereas the Mercedes this week, as Draper is back in the AlphaTauri, and Hargreaves was challenging KXI for the podium, but this time looks like Hargreaves got better pace than KXI in P14 there. But safety car is in this lap. I'm about to see some more racing action then. DRS will be enabled, but only for like 1 lap. We're about to see some more racing action then, as Little One will lead them away once the safety car peels off into the pit lane, and it'll be his decision when to go. Pull the trigger. Obviously not too early. It's going to be an intense restart. We saw Fandango under pressure, as look at Draper alongside him, but Draper has got past him, and look at that, Fandango is in the wall and he's out of this race then. Optimistic to get on the power as Draper is under pressure from Hargreaves then. Going into turn number 1, he outbreaks him. Going into turn 1, that Draper gets a better exit and he stays in P3, but there's been another, no, Draper has to give that place back for some reason, and he's under pressure there from MKP in P5. And he's got 5 plates grip penalty, this 5-second time penalty for ignoring yellow flags, a few of them out as well. I don't think Draper picked one up, but did he overtake him before the safety car line? It didn't matter anyway, because Fandango was in the wall and he's out of this race. And Harry Palmer there is fighting with the McLaren driver, going side by side then, but MKP stays just ahead as the Ferrari driver sneaking down the inside of the Alpine. Veloci Ayob picked up a 5-second time penalty for overtaking the yellow flag, but Ross goes down the inside there, but couldn't quite make it as Nacho saw him coming and carried more speed around the outside to make sure he didn't get him. A few of these drivers on the soft compound tyres, of course, so they'll be quicker than the medium runners, carrying more speed in these corners. Obviously the difference in speed will be massive, so he can't afford to make contact, as Fandango will be leading the session in frustration after being on the podium majority of the race, but unfortunately he's out of this Grand Prix. And there's a yellow flag in that section there, because you can see the black box there was yellow flags. There's still yellow flags, not quite sure if it's showing for these drivers, hopefully it's not. But Ross there all over the back, as Veloci Ayob is also on the back of Ross. There's a made mistake with that corner. Veloci Ayob will take advantage with the Red Bull right behind of Jay Hartnell, as Veloci Ayob goes down the inside of Ross there. Oh, he spins and he makes contact with Ross, and he's lost his front wing for good measure too. And Ross has got a 5-second time penalty with the collision for Ayob, but Ayob lost it on his own and took Ross with him. And he's lost his front wing too as Ross, and that's unfortunate there. A lot of drama in this late part of the race. Losing traction, quit out of turn 16. Collected another driver, and Ross has retired from this race. Harry Palmer's made a mistake with that turn number 1, which allowed Nacho to go through. Up into P6 he goes, does Nacho. Nacho had a horrible race before the second restart, second safety car, and then it's back up into P6 is the Williams driver. But Harvey's leading this race earlier on is back up on the podium, but obviously he wants to be higher up after leading the majority of the race, but he made a mistake without the castle section earlier on. Found himself in P5, now he's back up into P3. That guy Draper is in P4 where he remained from fighting. Harry Palmer has spun. As I mentioned, it was a good race for Harry Palmer so far, but unfortunately he's lost it coming out of turn number 4, and he rejoins the P11, and outside the top 10 he's on the hard compound tyres. Wonder why he didn't pit on that safety car, it's gone to soft compound tyres, but anyways, Jay Hartnell finds himself on the back of Nacho. And Nacho there going wide into the castle session. Jay Hartnell there having better lines coming through, and he's able to go alongside him now with the helping hand of ERS he's got in his disposal, and they're going side by side in a place you don't expect racing to go. They made contact as well, but Jay Hartnell has his... Oh, Nacho hits the wall, and did he sustain any front wing damage? I'm not quite sure. I didn't see no carbon fibre fall off the Williams there, and he hasn't sustained any damage. I don't know how he didn't do that, but he's lucky not to sustain any damage unless he got light green damage, of course. We'll see in these corners. Yes, he has got damage, in fact. So he's got light green damage, and Gordy LaFellin then will be all over the back of him with the helping hand of the ERS. No DRS yet. DRS will be enabled on this last lap. It looks like Ferguson hasn't got anything to respond with on the little one. The hards to mediums for little one has worked out for him. And Gordy LaFellin not able to make a move into turn number 1, but can he get him into turn number 4 or 3 with the helping hand of the DRS and the understeer sustained with that front wing damage. Oh, he's hit the wall. Gordy LaFellin then has lost traction and has hit the wall too. Did he turn his ERS too early? Did he get on the throttle way too early? He certainly had his ERS on, and he still kept it on, and he's out of this race as well. So yeah, that's it for him. Gordy LaFellin then, not realising his ERS was on, got on the throttle way too early, wheel spinned into the wall, and Nacho will be relieved of the pressure there. But he's got Veloci Ayob right to the back of him on the soft compound tyres, so it's not done yet for Nacho. Be under pressure from the Ferrari behind, but I don't think Nacho can respond with that help with that DRS, with that front wing he's suffering. Could be very careful not to hit these walls as well. 2 seconds is the gap between Ferguson and Little One, but I don't think Ferguson will care because he started down in P15 and he will finish in P2 if things don't unfold from there in P2, if he makes mistakes or whatnot. But he's keeping Harkey's behind. Oh, that's his front wing gone for sure. That Nacho's has lost all of his wing, and definitely for sure I don't think he'll make a pit stop because the last lap there's no point pitting now. He won't get the fastest lap because he doesn't have an extra lap to do that. I'm going to be careful, Veloci. I'm not too wiping out, and DRS is enabled, but that's going to be useless for some drivers. As Nacho then, I don't think he'll pull off into the pit lane. No, he won't. Got to be careful not to take Ayob out or Ayob taking him out, because obviously there'll be a big difference in cornering speed. I think Nacho should just let him go. Oh, like I just said there, got sent into a spin. But any more battles going on out there? MKP on the DRS at the back of Draper, but he's too far back to make a move. Will we see any last lap moves down the straight? Can anybody out drag anybody in? Will Jay Hartnell try and fight MKP on the straight with the fresher tyres he has on that Red Bull? Why is his name so hard to pronounce? It's only 3 letters as well. Anyways, MKP. No, I can't even say it without thinking. MKP, there we go. MKP in P5 there. Good race from him so far. Where did he start? He started in P13 as a McLaren driver, up into P5. But he's got Jay Hartnell right to the back of him now. Can Jay Hartnell out drag him because he's running low on ERS then? So we might see I'll drag him towards the line, we'll never know, but gonna keep it nice and tidy into these last few corners we go. Little one has done a fantastic job in this race and kept himself out of trouble, unlike Zandvoort. Retired in Zandvoort, but he's back and he's about to make his way to the line very shortly. Then as Jay Hartnell is right behind the McLaren, then gets him. Now that's going to be an easy move, but Little One has won the Grand Prix ahead of Ferguson. Hargreaves will finish in P3. That guy Draper in P4. Jay Hartnell taking Mkipe right to the line there in P5. And Craigo in P7 ahead of Veloci Ayob. Oh, there's a fast second time penalty for him, so Veloci Ayob will finish in P8 still. Harry Palmer in P9. In fact, Veloci Ayob had a time penalty himself. Nacho in P11. KXI P12. And Dragon of Speed. Shout out to him for staying in this race. And he will finish in P13, unfortunately for him, but still. I don't think anybody had the patience to do that, stay in the race, despite being 2 laps down, or 1 lap down, I'm quite sure what it was. Apologies about the commentary performance, my voice was going, I've got a cold once again and a sore throat, so I really hope I can do better for your commentary this time. I know there's a lot of moments in this race where I did struggle, but I'll try my best next time out. It is difficult when you're a lone commentator as well, not having a second commentator with you, because obviously when you have 2 commentators, one of you can take a break and come back in, but I've got to do the constant talking, do the 27 laps of qualifying as well, so. But anyways, Little One, fantastic drive from him, from P6 to P1, 5 place grid penalty, and he came back to finish in P1. Ferguson in P2 with Hargreaves reclaiming the podium. Started on pole, but unfortunately had made that mistake at the castle section and lost 2 positions as a result of that. That guy Draper, P4, ahead of Jay Hartnell in P5. MKP finishes P6 ahead of Craigo. Harry Palmer P8 ahead of Mazzles in P9. Veloci Ayob in P10. Could have been on the podium, but unfortunately yeah, it didn't go his way at all after making contact and losing his wing. Nacho in P11, KXI P12, Dragon of Speed P13, and there's your retirements from P14 all the way down to P20. Last week's race winner ended up retiring from this Grand Prix. Funny that, because Little One retired last time out and he won the Grand Prix, coming back to finish in P1. Right, so P3 with a broken wing, love to see it. Good job, George. And I got controller drift on the safety car and crash. Good job, mate. Really good stream, mate. We all appreciate that. Thanks, George. If that's your name, George, can I call you that instead of Hargreaves? It's a good name, but I think I'll call you George from now on. In the Mercedes too. Oh, I see. G Hargreaves is like George Hargreaves, isn't it? I see what it is. But well done to the Little One, Ferguson and George in P3 there. Amazing drive. Especially from Ferguson then. From P15 up into P2. I will do podium interviews next time out. Unfortunately not for this race because I want to recover and rest. But thank you all for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed that race. And join me back for Thursday at 8:30 for the Tier 1 race here in Baku. And I'll be joined by Stevan as well. But hopefully you'll all enjoy the rest of your evening, enjoy the week, and we'll see you all next time out for Thursday here in Baku. That's me done for the day.